You might be one of the most popular guys in Knoxville right about now.
I don't know about that.
You and Nico. Yeah. Tell me about just your feeling today. I mean, this is the day before a huge game, the first of its kind for us. We have a #1 basketball team. We have an undefeated women's team. We have a national championship winning baseball team. The list goes on for our sports program, and you're the head of it all. So today, I'm sure it feels really good to be you.
Yeah, continue to be really proud of everything our teams are doing across the board, and competitively, academically. We just finished another record year in the fall semester. We'll announce that later. Just across the board success, and we thought that Tennessee was capable of really big things, and we're learning that the ceiling is probably not yet in sight.
There's a certain magic to, it seems like, a lot of the programs right now. What do you think is the key to the success?
I think culture is everything. We talk about a championship culture, and people define culture in different ways. We're in this building where our student athletes are every single day. The hallway outside, I call it student athlete superhighway. All of our kids pass each other, and whether you're a swimmer or a rower or a football player or a volleyball player, we want you all to succeed academically. We want you to be an All-American competitively, and we want that energy to feed off of each other, and we're seeing that happening. Winning's contagious.
When you came into this job, I'm sure it was nervousness and excitement, and you wanted to do big things. Did you ever think that it would go this well?
I expected we would get it done at a high level. I thought that Tennessee had some advantages because of the fan base, because of our market. I think we have an opportunity to build something really special here. I think we're way ahead of schedule, though. What I learned is there are some really good coaches already here. We've done our best to get behind them and support them. Tennessee's a great place to recruit to. We've brought in some really talented coaches, both head coaches and assistant coaches, and those people have obviously brought in the right kind of kids that represent this university and this state with class, and they're winning while doing it.
I need to know what your mindset is like watching a basketball game, a football game, a baseball game, a national championship baseball game. Like, are you just, I'm nervous, and I don't have any, skin in the game. You have to be like, it's like a tense feeling, right? Or is it exciting? What does it feel like?
It's probably not as exciting for me as it is for our fans.
Yeah.
It can be stressful. I'm usually thinking about, really in anything in my job, I'm thinking about the worst case scenario because I need to be prepared for that. So I probably carry that over to when I'm watching games. Maybe that's not the healthiest way to watch games, but that's usually what happens.
It's all business.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it weird when probably you loved sports growing up, I'm assuming, and now it's your business. So it's probably become more of an intense practice than an enjoyable one.
It is, but it's not unenjoyable.
Yeah.
I love the competition. I would never want to be away from the competition. I love winning. I hate losing. Not being attached to that would be a problem for me. So as much as the games can be stressful, deep down, I really love it.
What does your family think of Knoxville? Do they love it here?
Yeah, really enjoying it. We have 4 kids, and they're having a great experience. They're full-blown Knoxvillians now. In January, it'll be 4 years, and it's been a great transition.
There's been a lot of changes happening under your leadership, NIL being one of them. It's really created such an interesting playing field for these athletes. How do you think it's going? I know there's some confusion about it, obviously, with a lawsuit against the NCAA, but how is it going from your eyes?
From a Tennessee perspective, I think we're doing really well competitively against our peers. From a national perspective, as it relates to the health of college athletics, I don't know that it could be going worse. We were completely unprepared for the inevitable, which the courts have been telling us for over a decade, that we need to comply with antitrust law and we need to find some rules of engagement to get this thing organized. We're the least regulated sport in the world right now, and it's not healthy for our student athletes. It's not healthy for coaches. The big winners right now are the agents. And people that are kind of running in between some of these deals. But we have to get it organized. I think everybody knows that. I've seen much more productive conversations at the national level about how do we move forward as an industry, college athletics nationally. It's way too important to American society. It's unique in the world, this attachment of sport to higher education. It's the feeder system to our Olympic Games. We have to do our job as leaders in college athletics to protect it and make sure it continues to grow. From a television viewership standpoint and popularity standpoint, it's never been better. People love college sports. but the structure of it needs some work.
What do you think about this game tomorrow? Like, I know it's hard to predict or to think of what's going to happen, but heading into this game, what are you thinking is going to be the outcome if you had your druthers?
I think the Vols are going to win. I think we're going to take care of business. These guys have been working hard. This is what they work for really all off season. Josh, when he talks to the team, he talks about that started in January. He's talking about last January, and they're now 11 months into this work product that these are the pivotal games. Excuse me. And this being the first year of the expanded playoff, this is the first time we've had a real postseason in college football, a meaningful postseason where more than 2 or 4 teams get to compete for the national title. So I know our guys are really excited. We're all really excited, and expect a big showing tomorrow night.
Oh man, it's so nerve-wracking. What do you think it is about Coach Heupel that resonates with this group of guys?
He's real. He's a genuine person. He walked in their shoes as a student athlete himself. He's hired a really good staff of people that care. Kids are smart. I jokingly call them really educated consumers. We can't sell them something that they're not going to see through if there's not substance behind it, and he is all substance. He's obviously extremely innovative in terms of scheme and the offensive scheme and the things we do from an X and O standpoint. But there's a lot of people that are good at X and O's. The relationships with players and the way he approaches building a program and putting their priorities first in the right way, I think has been a huge part of the culture he's built and the success that we're having.
He was a proven coach before this, but it was probably a risk because it's your first big hire in this job. Are you glad you took the risk?
Yeah, it was probably more of a risk the first time I hired him because he hadn't been a head coach before. I'd worked with him for a few years.
Where was he when you found him?
He was the offensive coordinator at Missouri.
Okay.
And there, that was a more unique hire. But here, we really just felt like we knew exactly who he is. And the more I got to know our team here and spoke with our leadership group, just felt like he'd be a great fit, and couldn't be more pleased with the way it's worked out.
Specifically, Vitello, Heupel, Barnes seem to be like a great trio. You, Dondi, Randy Boyd seem to be a great trio. There's some magic happening right now. Can you put that into words?
I think it's strong leadership. It's discipline around organizational structure. When I first came here, Randy and Dondi as our president and chancellor, and John Compton as our board chair, talked about they're going to hire an athletic director and they'll let that person do their job, and that's exactly what's happened. And I hire a football coach and I let that person do their job. All of our head coaches, we don't micromanage around here. We just empower good leaders and help them, give them opportunities to do their job at a high level. I'm looking for competitive advantages for all of our head coaches all the time. That's how I can help them best, whether that's resources for facilities, resources for NIL, scholarships, anything that gives them an extra leg up, and then I get out of their way and let them do their job, and our university does the same thing for me. And so I think we have a really healthy culture and really strong leaders with great business sense that are a huge part. They are the reason, my bosses are the reason this university is absolutely on fire. It's not just athletics. Our applications in-state, out-of-state are just wacko through the roof. It's unbelievable.
That all goes hand in hand, don't you think? When sports are on the map in such a big way, it's going to attract more students.
No question. Yeah. I think our applications have tripled in the last few years. It's been fun to watch, fun to be a part of.
I actually just looked at the biggest universities, the list of the biggest universities, and Tennessee was not in even the top 25. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we have a million kids here. You know,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But y'all are growing every year, and the infrastructure hopefully as well to fulfill the needs of the students.
Yeah, we got to build more beds. We got dorms going up all over campus right now to try to meet the demand.
It's necessary for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the biggest challenges you face heading into the new year?
I think nationally, the organization around what does college sports look like around this concept of name, image, and likeness, revenue sharing with student athletes. We have a lot of work to do, and that's an enormous challenge for all of us. And that's the biggest issue. If my job was only about building the best athletic department in the country right here in Knoxville, Tennessee, that it would be easy compared to some of the issues we're dealing with nationally.
What do you think about this new playoff system?
I think it's going to be great. I'm really excited about tomorrow. Obviously, it's our first the first game, but we get a little momentum like any postseason run we've seen in so many sports. We saw in baseball last June. There's no telling where it can take us, and hopefully we go all the way. But I think it's really healthy for college football. It's awesome for so many student athletes at so many different teams and different fan bases, those that are in it or maybe just missed it, that are watching, that probably are checked out at this point in time in previous seasons.
Let's talk about scheduling opponents with football. We saw what happened with Alabama. They had a really tough schedule and did not make it into the playoffs, even though they performed pretty well against the good teams. Not us. What is it with selecting opponents? Do you opt for the lesser opponent so that you win more games and get a shot at the playoffs, or do you pick those tougher opponents to go forward? I don't know. What do you do there?
It's not as simple as just kind of comparing in one season, because we schedule these games a lot of times 10 years in advance. We scheduled an NC State game that actually, in that example, that was only a couple of years ago. That was supposed to be Oklahoma at home, but Oklahoma was joining our conference. That game got canceled. It's really hard to find a game with only a couple of years at notice, so that's why we landed with a neutral site game. We purposely picked NC State because they were pretty good at the time, and we wanted to have significant strength of schedule. And even going into the season, I think they were top 20 in the country. They didn't have as good of a year as they thought they would, or anybody thought they would. But how could we know that? When we played Oklahoma, they were 15th in the country, and got the win there on the road. So it's easy to look back at and see where everyone's ranked after 12 games and say, what were you thinking? Well, even in those examples where we had the opportunity to schedule a game only 2 years in advance, it's impossible to know how it's going to play out. But in a lot of scenarios, we're scheduling games 8, 9, 10 years in advance.
So these have been on the books for a while.
Yeah.
Tell me about Georgia being so early this next season. That's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I mean, it's almost like you have to have the build-up to Georgia, and we're just jumping right in. There's no pre-gaming.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think our fans need it. I think we'll be ready to roll.
Let's talk about the fans. It has to be I know you love the fan base, but I mean, we are great when we're great, but we are mean as heck when we're not. What do you think about that?
It's just passion, and it's not rational in a positive way. I think that we have the best fan base really in all of sport, not just college sports, because it's not just our football program, it's not just our men's basketball or women's basketball program, it's baseball, it's softball, it's everything. They're proud of the successes we're having across the board, and I know our student athletes feed off of that energy. Recruits want to be a part of it. Our coaches love it. We all love being a part of it. It makes it a really cool environment to be around here. I was texting with one of our donors coming in here. Said, what if we win this whole thing and win the national championship? Knoxville might completely explode. And he's joking about the passion of our fan base.
But really.
But it's true.
We might lose our minds.
Yeah.
I mean, Omaha was wild. That parade, I mean, you think about, I was in Omaha covering that.
Yeah.
Interviewed Randy in the stands one day. It's just such an environment with these fans like nothing I've ever seen. You know, and I've lived in Cleveland with Browns fans, which are crazy.
Yeah, it's a great fan base.
My dad went to Georgia. I mean, but is there something really unique and special about East Tennessee?
I think there is. I think it's generational. It's one of those unique fan bases. People that grew up I don't care if it's West Tennessee, the Mid-State, East Tennessee, anywhere. If you spent a substantive part of your childhood in the state of Tennessee, you bleed orange, and that's what I've come to realize. It doesn't matter if you went to Tennessee or not. It doesn't even matter if you've ever been to a game. They're all so passionate, and it makes it really special to be a part of for all of us here.
It is. It's like a state team, not just a city team.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the mindset. What's Heupel, what's going through his head right now, and how does he operate on a day like today where there's a lot of pressure?
Oh, he's all business. He's been in game prep mode for 2 weeks, and today I'm sure he's thinking about his game plan and working with his players, and they have their set schedule. They're very regimented, so he doesn't maybe ride the passion and the highs and the lows of the fans like some of the rest of us. Maybe like his AD does. But he's pretty regimented.
Do you leave him alone during games?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not calling in down the locker room and suggesting
what are you
plays.
doing?
Yeah, no.
What about Nico? Tell me about this team and how he is in leadership and with these guys.
He's done a great job. He's a young player. He's a young guy coming in here as a redshirt freshman and getting the starting nod, and with all that means, with the talent around him, the opportunity that we had. We knew going into the season we had a chance to be pretty good. There's a lot of pressure that goes along with that, and I think he's handled it extremely well. He's been a first-class representative of our athletics department.
I talked to some former football players, Vols for Life,
Yep.
prior to the season, and some of them said to me, I think this is the best I've ever seen the team in a long time. And it seems that that's proven itself to be true. We've had some slow starts in first halves, let's be honest, but we've always come through in so many tough games. Do you think there's a certain special element to this particular team?
We'll find out here in the next few weeks. I think just getting to this point, though, we have great leadership. We have depth that we haven't had since we've been here. This is now Josh's fourth season, my fourth season. We haven't had the kind of depth at a lot of positions that we have now, which has given us the opportunity to, maybe toughen out some of those tough wins that maybe weren't the prettiest. But when you have other options at different positions, and you can go to that next player with hopefully just minor injuries at times, we haven't had that opportunity as much in the past, which is common when you're rebuilding a program. We lost, I think it was 35 or 38 players to the transfer portal when we first got here. That's a significant portion of the team, and it took a little bit of time to rebuild that.
Are you superstitious on game day?
Extremely.
Like what?
It could be the shoes I'm wearing, which I don't have. Sometimes if we go on a winning streak with a pair of shoes, I won't change them. Where I'm standing, if we're not playing well, I'm moving somewhere else. If we're playing really well, I'm not moving. I don't care how cold I am or hot I am or what's going on. Somehow in my crazy mind, I think that where I am in the stadium matters. I really know it doesn't. But.
Yeah, but like it's hard to get those things out of your mind.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to tomorrow?
I can't wait to see a huge portion of that stadium orange. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be, even before the game begins, I think it's going to be an awesome representation of who we are as a university, as a fan base. And this fan base does not disappoint. I expect there to be an enormous amount of orange.
Have you seen some of the funny things, the hijinks that are going on up there, the jukebox hacking and all that? Have you paid attention to any of that?
Yeah.
You love it?
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, bars are blaring Rocky Top and they have no choice but to listen.
Right, yeah.
The guy we interviewed this morning said he had to turn off the jukebox because it wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
It was relentless.
Yeah, none of that surprises me at all.
All right, that's all. You're
Okay,
good.
awesome.